Hey bag ladies and bag dudes, I'm Sara Lawson from So Sweetness. Thanks so much for joining me for Ask Sara, my weekly Q&A chat. So hey to everyone joining me over on Facebook and YouTube. Thanks so much for spending your Tuesday evening with me. I have a fun new sewing tutorial video to share with you, and Danny will be joining me later on after the video. So hey there, Montana Wendy. Hi, Alex from Seattle. And hi, Webba from Kansas City. I was just in Kansas City last week, and there's Pamela. Hi, Pamela. All right, so you might have noticed I got my hair trimmed yesterday. I get my hair cut about twice a year, and I don't really have a regular stylist or a regular hair salon. I just sort of pick something in the area, and I don't really know what to ask for when I get my hair cut either, besides just a trim. And so I think it ended up being a little bit shorter than I wanted. I last got my hair cut in November. I really liked the style, but the salon that I went to in November, they're only open 4 days a week, so they were closed yesterday, and I was really, once I get an idea in my head about getting my hair cut, I have to do it right away. And so I chose a different salon. I went with my daughter, and I asked for a haircut, and I didn't know what to ask for, so this is what I got. I think it's called long layers. It's okay. It's a little shorter than I wanted, but the great thing about hair is that it grows out, so in a few months it'll be back to the length that I'm used to. Yeah, anyway, I don't know if you like it or not, but I know it'll be a lot easier to take care of. Okay, so for the project for tonight is this Discotech Clutch. So it's sort of it's got a bit of a three-dimensional sides. It's got slip pockets in the lining, a magnetic snap, and these awesome cutout handles. So the funny thing about this clutch is that this morning when I went to go get everything ready for shooting the videos, and since I'd been promising you all this video for the last couple of weeks, I went into my hardware case and I noticed that I didn't have any more of these metal ovals in with my hardware. So I have to admit what I did was, I know I showed this clutch a couple times recently. I had to take the handles off this clutch to use them for the video. So I did glue these original handles in. I just unscrewed them, and it wasn't too difficult to take them out even though they were glued in. So I'll have to order another set so I can repair this clutch. But unfortunately, I had to use these handles for the clutch that I made for the video. And another funny thing is I have two clutches with the handles installed, and each clutch is missing one screw. So there's a one screw in one of the handles that's missing. And I remember when I made these a few years ago, the screws are itty bitty. And I remember dropping them, and I just couldn't find them anywhere. And so unfortunately, each of these cutout handles is missing one screw. Not ideal. I'll have to order several sets and just replace both of them. But I think it's a pretty cool clutch. Just a reminder, if you have any questions for me that I can answer live after the video, either sewing related, bag related, sewing tool related, ask your questions in the comments, and I'll be answering some questions live after the sewing tutorial video. And my husband Danny will also be joining me, and if there's any questions for him, I'm not sure that there would be, but we'll be both up on the set after the sewing tutorial video. So the video is about 37 minutes long. I have a link in the description if you're interested in the pattern pieces and the pattern for this project, as well as where I got the oval handles. That's all in the link in the description. But enjoy the video, and I'll see you in 37 minutes to answer some live questions. Enjoy. Hey bag ladies and bag dudes, I'm Sara Lawson from So Sweetness, and today I'm going to show you how to make my Discotech clutch. This clutch has darts in the bottom, giving it a three-dimensional shape. It has pockets on the inside, a magnetic snap closure, and the focal feature of this project is, of course, the metal cutout handles. So grab your supplies and let's get started. Okay, before you begin cutting out your fabric and interfacing, you'll need to print out the pattern and the template. The template is on page 8 of the pattern, and to open the PDF pattern file, you always want to use Adobe Reader. So you don't want to open up the pattern in a web browser or anything else. Open it up in Adobe Reader and print at actual size. So not scaling or fit to page, it has to be actual size. And to verify that, there's a little 1-inch square on the template piece. And just go ahead and take your quilting ruler and make sure that it is exactly 1 inch. It shouldn't be slightly smaller or slightly larger than an inch. It has to be exactly 1 inch. Okay, then go ahead and cut out that pattern piece to the outside of the black line. And we're going to leave that dart intact for right now. So don't cut out the dart quite yet. Okay, so you'll be using this pattern piece to cut out according to the cutting instructions in the pattern. So you'll be cutting from lining fabric, exterior fabric, shape flex interfacing, and foam interfacing. Okay, so let me show you how to attach the lining fabric to the shape flex interfacing. So I've got one of my lining main panels and the shape flex. So one side of the shape flex feels bumpy to your fingertips. That's the side with the adhesive, and that's the side that will go against the wrong side of the fabric. So I'm going to flip my lining so that it's face down and the shape flex right on top, again with the bumpy side against the wrong side of the fabric. And I have my iron set at the cotton setting, so I'm just going to go ahead and glide that iron over each area of the fabric until it's properly adhered. I recommend using a pressing cloth. I just don't use a pressing cloth for the videos, just so you can see exactly what I'm doing. But just keep gliding your iron. You don't want to just plonk it down and then move it to different areas. Just keep it moving so that you don't have an iron-shaped imprint on the back of your fabric. Okay, so when the fabric is properly adhered, you can test it by trying to peel back one corner of the fabric from the interfacing. If it peels back easily, that means you need to iron it a bit longer, and if it doesn't peel back, then you're good to go. So finish this step with the respective lining pieces and shape flex interfacing. Okay, so to attach the exterior fabric to the foam interfacing, if your foam is fusible, go ahead and fuse it in a similar manner to what you did with the shape flex interfacing. I like using by Annie Soft and Stable, which is a sew-in interfacing, and so I'm going to machine baste the fabric to the foam. I like using I like using 4mm stitch length for machine basting, just because it makes the process go by a bit quicker. So I'm just going to go ahead and give my fabric a little press, and then I'm going to use some Wonder Clips to hold the fabric to the foam. I'm going to sew using 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, and again that's with a 4mm stitch length. Okay, so let's go ahead and take this over to the sewing machine. Okay, so you'll repeat this process with the second exterior main panel and second piece of foam, and when you've finished, make sure you change back to your regular stitch length, and mine is 2.5mm. Okay, so now pull that pattern piece back out, and now it's time to cut the dart out. Okay, so we're going to use this pattern piece to mark on the wrong side of one of the exterior main panels. So I'm going to flip to the wrong side, and we need to mark both halves. And I'm using a friction pen. You can use a fabric marker or chalk, whatever you prefer. So I'm going to take the friction pen and I'm just going to mark the dart on one half. And again, make sure that your pattern piece and your fabric are aligned. And same thing on the other half. Okay, and I'm also, for future use, I'm also going to take the pattern piece and just draw a line right down the center so we have the center point. Okay, so now we're going to sew the darts, and to do that I'm going to pinch the fabric so it's right sides together so that both of these dart legs are on top of each other. And I always like to take my finger and smooth the fabric out so that I don't pin a pucker into the fabric. All right, and just check the fabric and make sure the darts are aligned, and they are on both sides. And I'm also going to put a wonder clip down here. And I'm going to pin the other side the same way. Again, I'm going to smooth out the fabric first and then bring those dart legs so that they're right on top of each other. Okay, we're going to sew directly on top of the line on both halves of the fabric, and that will create a dart. And going forward, make sure you backstitch at start and stop of all of your seams. Okay, after you sew those darts, go ahead and flip to the wrong side of the fabric, and this is what the darts should look like when sewn in. And we're going to trim each of the darts slightly larger than 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So it should look like that. And we're just trimming the darts down so as to reduce bulk in the finished clutch. Okay, so go ahead and press the seam. You can either press it open or to the side. I'm going to go ahead and press it open. Okay, and you'll repeat the same process with the second exterior main panel in regards to sewing the darts. So you should have both of those with the darts sewn and trimmed and pressed. Okay, so now I'm going to take both of these exterior main panels and place them right sides together, and make sure you align the darts. Okay, I'm going to pin the bottom and the sides. And it helps to pin from the top and then pin down. Okay, we're going to sew this pinned edge using 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. So the sides and the bottom will be sewn. Okay, after you've sewn that together, we're going to cut little notches wherever there's a curved edge. So a notch is just cutting little V's, maybe about every 1/2 inch. And what that does is it helps reduce some of that extra fabric when we go to press the fabrics wrong sides together later on, so that you have a smooth finish through the curve. And you don't need to make notches where there's a straight edge, just where there's a curve. And you're only cutting those notches about halfway up the seam allowance. You're not getting anywhere near the stitches. Okay, go ahead and put this to the side for now, and we're going to start working on the lining. Okay, so go ahead and pull out the template and one of your lining main panels. I'm going to mark the center on the wrong side of the fabric. And then I'm also going to take a chalk and mark the center on the right side of the fabric. Okay, we're going to install the magnetic snaps. So earlier when we were cutting out the fabric, in the cutting instructions, there was a cutting instruction to cut 2 1.5 inch squares from foam. This could be either from Peltex or from plastic cross stitch template, whatever you want. It should be 2 of them and a 1.5 inch square. And this is just to reinforce the snap, because the snap is going through the lining fabric and the lining is sort of on the thin side because of the Shapeflex interfacing. It doesn't have a bulkier interfacing like foam or something stiffer. So we want to make sure it's reinforced so that the snap doesn't tear through the fabric. So I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to measure 4 inches down from the top edge and make a mark. And it needs to be centered, so it's going to fall right on top of this center line that I drew. Okay, so that's 4 inches down, and I'm going to use the snap for marking the prong placement. So some snaps come with washers, mine did. Some do not come with washers. Either way, it's okay. So if yours did not come with a washer, you're just going to center the snap on top of the marking, and you're going to mark the prongs where they are. So to the inside of the first prong and to the outside of the second. Since mine have the washers, I'm going to go ahead and use the washer to mark the prong placement. So I'm going to align the center opening on the washer right on top of the marking that I made. And then I'm just going to draw where both of the slits are. And I'll do the same thing on one of the 1.5 inch squares as well. Okay, so I'm going to take my seam ripper and make a slit through all of the prong placement markings that I made. And you always want to start with a small slit because you can always make a small slit bigger, but if you accidentally make your slit too big, then you're sort of stuck. Okay, and I'm just going to slide my seam ripper at the top of the marking and just kind of drag it a little bit. I usually like to follow up any kind of slits that I've made in fabric with seam sealant, so either Fray Check or Fray Block is another brand. And I'm just going to put a dab on top of each of the slits that I made. Okay, so I'm going to insert one of the snaps, it doesn't matter which one, through the right side of the fabric. And if you need to make your slits a little bigger, go ahead and do that, it's no problem. And then I'm going to turn to the wrong side and I'm going to stick this square of interfacing on top and then follow it up with the washer. Okay, so you can either use pliers or a tool to open out those prongs outward. I usually like to just lean my prong against the edge of a table and push down on it, so it sort of saves my fingers. So I'm going to do this on the edge of my table really quick and then come back and show you this is what it should look like when the prongs are opened outward, and this is what it looks like from the front. So you'll repeat the same process to install the second half of the snap in your second lining main panel using the same measurements. Okay, now go ahead and pull out 2 of your pocket pieces and we're going to place them right sides together. And we're going to pin along the top straight edge only. Okay, we're going to sew this pinned edge using 1/4 inch seam allowance. Go ahead and press the seam open, and then we're going to press the fabrics so that they're wrong sides together. So by pressing the seam open first, we can just get a nice crisp finish so that it's easier to press wrong sides together. Okay, and then I'm just going to use my fingers to sort of roll the seam out so that the fabrics are wrong sides together. Okay, we're going to take this back over to the sewing machine and top stitch the finished edge using 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, now go ahead and pull out one of the lining main panels and we're going to place that completed pocket directly on top. Okay, you're going to align the sides and the bottom and you'll notice that the pocket is really close to that magnetic snap. Okay, so I'm going to pull out the pattern piece again and mark the center markings right on top of the pocket because we're going to use that center marking to stitch a divider in the pocket. So there's 2 sections in this pocket. Okay, so I'm going to take the Wonder Clips and pin the sides and the bottom. We're going to sew the sides and the bottom using 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And then after we do that, we're going to sew right on top of this line, creating the divider. So when you do that, I always like to start sewing from the bottom of the pocket toward the top of the pocket, so it kind of pushes out any creases, as opposed to if you started to sew up here and the fabric got bunched up, you'd have a big pucker on the bottom. So we're going to start sewing from the bottom toward the top. We'll repeat that same process to attach the second pocket to the second lining main panel. Okay, so now it's time to sew the darts just like we did with the exterior. So I'm going to flip to the wrong side of the lining and take my pattern piece, and I'm going to mark the darts in each corner. Okay, again, just like I did before, I'm going to pinch the fabric so that it's right sides together. Make sure that the dart legs are aligned, and place a couple Wonder Clips to hold the fabric in place. Okay, again, I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew the darts. So I'm going to sew right on top of the line on both halves. Okay, again, we're going to trim the seams down. And then you'll repeat the same process of sewing the dart with the second lining piece. So I'm going to press the seam open. Okay, and then here's my second lining piece with the darts also sewn in. Okay, so now I'm going to flip these fabrics again so that they're right sides together. I'm going to align the darts and I'm going to pin the sides and the bottom. We're going to sew this as before using 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. I'll also make sure you align those pockets too so they look even on the inside. Except we're going to leave an opening centered on the bottom in between the two darts, so around a 6-inch opening, and I'm just going to mark with my pen as a reminder that I need to leave that opening down there. Okay, again, this is going to be 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, and make sure you leave an opening on the bottom edge. Okay, again, I'm going to leave notches wherever there's a curved edge. Okay, so again, you have that opening in the lining. I'm going to go ahead and pull out the exterior again, and I'm going to flip the exterior so that it's right side facing out. Okay, I'm going to slide the exterior inside the lining, and we're going to align the top raw edges and the side seams. So start by pinning the side seams, and you can go ahead and just finger press that seam so that it's open. Let's pin those side seams first, right sides together. Okay, after you do that with the side seams, go ahead and pin the rest of the way all the way around. And you might find it helpful to align those center markings that we made earlier. So I'm going to pin the centers first and then work my way outward. Okay, we're going to sew this top edge using 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, and we're going to go all the way around the whole top edge. Okay, now it's time to pull everything right side out through the opening in the lining. So just reach in and grab the exterior and pull it out. Okay, and then slide the lining inside the exterior so that it's wrong sides together. Okay, I'm just going to take my fingers and roll the seam so that they're wrong sides together and give that a press with my iron. Okay, and I'm going to put some wonder clips on there just to hold the edges till I get it over to the sewing machine. Oops. Okay, go ahead, continue pressing and pinning. We're going to top stitch the entire top edge. And then for top stitching, I always like to lengthen my stitch length as well. So I'm going to lengthen my stitch length to 3 millimeters. And this top stitching is going to be 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so now we're going to install the metal oval, and I went ahead and took my screws out of it already. So it's just 2 pieces and the screws go through the openings. And you'll also need fabric glue, and I'm using Beacon 3-in-1 glue. Beacon fabric tack or another fabric glue is also okay. Okay, so I could still see my center lines that I had on my lining fabric, so I went ahead and transferred with chalk to the right side of my exterior. So this is the middle of my bag, and I marked both sides. And this is where I'm going to install the metal oval. So I'm going to make a mark with my ruler and chalk that's 1 3/4 inches down from the top edge. And this is where we're going to center that metal oval. Okay, so I'm just going to use 1 piece for now. So the oval needs to be centered, and if you want to check to make sure with your ruler that equal amounts of fabric are showing on the inside. Okay, and also it's going to be 3/8 of an inch down from this top edge. So I'm going to go ahead and move my oval up so it should be centered on that marking. Okay, and then I'm just going to go ahead and actually take my friction pen and draw the center of the oval. Okay, so this marking right here is where I'm going to cut. I'm just going to cut a smidge larger because this metal hardware needs to cover the opening, but you don't want to see extra fabric sticking out. Okay, because we're going to be cutting through this layer of the exterior and this layer of the lining, I like to put some pins over here just to hold the layers together so that they're not shifting as I'm trying to cut. So I'm going to smooth this out and just put a few tiny pins to hold both layers of fabric, and I'm going to put a few around the outside of the circle as well. And like I said, this just holds the fabric so that this exterior and lining layer are not shifting around when you're trying to cut the circle out. Okay, so to get the opening started, I'm going to use my seam ripper and just make a slit in here. And then I'll take my scissors and I'll cut the rest of the circle out. Okay, and after you finish cutting, you want to take this oval and place it back on the fabric and just make sure that you cut enough fabric. And if you need to cut a little bit more back, like I notice on this side over here, on the sides, I'm just going to trim a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put some of that seam sealant that I used earlier for reinforcing the snaps. I'm going to put some seam sealant on the fabric, so both the lining and the exterior, so that it doesn't start fray while I'm working with it. And I'm going to let this dry completely before I move on to installing the metal oval. Okay, so I'll see you back in a few minutes when this is dried, and I'll show you how to install that oval. Okay, I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine and just baste these edges together so that it's easier to work with going forward and I can remove my pins. So I'm just going to sew to the inside of the circle by about 1/8 of an inch. Okay, now go ahead and take the part of the oval with the 4 openings for the screws, and we're just going to go ahead and lay them down right where that opening is. And I'm going to mark with my fabric pen the areas where the openings for the screws need to be. So there's a few ways that you can make these holes in your fabric. All right, there I see all 4 holes right there and right there. Okay, so you can either use a seam ripper or an awl, which is sort of like a sharp tool to make holes through fabric. If you have a tabletop press, you can use the tabletop press with your dies to make holes, or if you have a hole punch, that'll work as well. So we're going to make holes where each of the 4 markings are for the screws, and I'm just going to make mine with my tabletop press, but again, if you were using an awl, you can do that as well. And basically you need to get all the fabric removed so that you have a clear hole for the screw to go through. Okay, so I went ahead and made the 4 holes through both layers of fabric, and like I said, you want to make sure that it's a clear opening and you don't have extra fabric caught in the way. So I'm just going to take my awl and make sure there's no extra fabric. Okay. So now I'm going to flip so that the exterior fabric is face down, and I'm going to take out the oval, which will be the front, and flip to the back, and these are the openings where the screws will go through. So I'm going to go ahead and seat that on top of where the openings are, and I'm just going to use my awl again to make sure that I have it in the correct place and that the fabric is cleared away from the opening. And you can go ahead and test this out first before you get some glue on there. So once I've tested out where my piece is going to go, I'm going to remove it from the fabric and place some fabric glue. And I'm going to place the fabric glue right on these ridges over here and then glue it to the front of the clutch. Okay, now it's time to add this back piece of the oval where the screws will go, and make sure it's seated where the opening is. And if you need to use a blunt object like this awl to kind of push the fabric down, you can go ahead and do that. You can also put glue on this second oval before you put the screws in. Okay, so I'm going to start with my screws, and they're really tiny, so be careful because I've lost some of them in the past. And they're just going to screw through where the openings are. And if you're having a hard time getting yours screwed in, that just means you have some fabric in the way. So take your awl or another tool and cut some of the fabric away if you need to. And just be patient. This process, especially if you're doing it for the first time, is a little bit cumbersome, but I think the results are pretty great for this clutch that comes together. And I think you can make it look really fancy by adding some trim, or if you make it with leather or maybe some applique or embroidery on the front, I think that would be really cute. Okay, so after you've gotten this handle installed, you'll repeat the same process for the opposite side of the bag and the remaining metal oval from your set. So you'll install and cut out the opening the same for both ways. When you have both of the metal ovals installed, the last thing is to close the opening in the lining. And to do that, you'll turn toward the inside by 1/4 of an inch and either slip stitch the opening closed by hand, or you can also machine stitch the opening using 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Thanks so much for sewing along with me. I can't wait to see your finished clutch. Please join my Facebook group and post a photo of your finished project there. And remember, if I can do it, so can you. Hey, so hope you enjoyed that video on how to make the Discotech Clutch. My husband Danny's joining me on set.
Hello.
And I'm going to answer some live questions in a minute. When we were filming this video earlier today, when we were doing the introductory video part of the video, Danny had me change my outfit because he said what I was wearing was not appropriate. I was wearing a green t-shirt with a graphic on it. So, yeah.
We weren't just shooting that. We were actually doing an intro for our YouTube channel as well as our Facebook. So I think she likes to get me a little hate mail from my daughter as well again. So we'll see.
All right, so we're going to answer some questions live. I saw one. Oh, before we get to the one that I have queued up on my tablet, a lot of people were asking what fabric I used for this clutch. It's by Cotton and Steel. The fabric line is called Flutter. This one's actually a rayon. Rayon's normally used for garments. I like using quilting cottons in a lot of my projects, but this particular print was only available in rayon in this colorway, and so I interfaced it first with Pellon Shape Flex before I attached it to the foam. Normally I would just attach quilting cotton to the foam, but this fabric's kind of drapey and not quite stretchy, but it just has a different hand than the quilting cotton. So that's what this is right here. Okay, so let me throw a question up on the screen. Tammy wanted to know, why do instructions say 1/2 inch in the seam allowance, then say now trim to 1/4 of an inch? Why not just use 1/4 of an inch to begin with? That's a great question, Tammy. So for smaller projects like this clutch or one of the Minikins pouches, me personally as a pattern designer, I would just leave that as 1/4 of an inch. For bags or larger projects, I like to write in sewing with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and then if necessary to trim down. A 1/2 inch is just more to work with as far as sewing. It gives you a little bit more room for error. Also, depending on your sewing machine foot or walking foot might handle the 1/2 inch seam allowance a little bit better. So just my personal preference and why I use the different seam allowances. Angeline says, hi Sarah, bag lady from India. Can a normal foot be used while sewing with by Annie Soft and Stable? Yes, in fact, I never use my walking foot unless I'm machine quilting a quilt. Again, that depends on your sewing machine. I always suggest if you're having trouble dealing with layers to either change your needle or to use a walking foot instead of your regular foot, because a lot of times the walking foot can grab the layers better than a regular foot can. Okay, Kathy says, love the video. Does Danny learn how to make bags and pouches while he shoots your videos?
It's funny. I learned like tips and tricks. Like you got a bar tack, a zipper. If you're putting it somewhere, as removing the zipper stop, and you cut down the zipper. Different like techniques and stuff. It's repetitive, so I see it, and I definitely pick up on it. Applying that technique would be a different step because I've never tried it. Maybe we should do like a how-to video. Sarah teaches me how to make a man bag and something cool like that, or something in the future.
That might be a really long video, though. If you're
Are you saying your teaching is that bad?
No.
I'm pretty darn handy. All right, got someone talking about your green shirt, and I'm wearing my Slytherin sweatshirt.
We went to Disney in November. So my birthday is November 28th, and 3 weeks before my birthday, I decided, all right, for my birthday this year, we're going to Disney, and we booked the flight and the tickets and everything then, and that's when he got this shirt. When we went to Universal Studios for the first time and rode all the Harry Potter rides, and it was fun, right?
Universal was awesome. I actually liked it better than Disney. More people probably be sending more hate mail, but Universal was just amazing. It really was.
I think Universal's geared more toward adults in some ways, like some of the rides, like Transformers or I don't know. Melissa said, I just wanted to thank you, Sarah. Your tip on the walking foot on the faux leather worked like a dream. Oh, that's great. I'm glad that was helpful. So either the walking foot or a Teflon foot works for faux leather because it it can get, your regular foot can get stuck. And oh, I did see someone have a question earlier if this project could be made in vinyl or faux leather, and I made this one in like a pebbled vinyl. I'm not sure where I bought this from. It was some years ago, but yeah, the project works in other substrates as well. Corenda wants to know, can you show a video about straps? Oh, I do have that on my list, adjustable straps. We'll get to it shortly. I'm not sure what video we're doing next Tuesday. I think I was thinking of magnetic and invisible snaps, but I might change my mind before then. Danelle says, I prefer Universal and Islands of Adventure over Disney any day.
And Danelle, I saw your minikins this past week. You had two of them next to each other. I forget which one it was. I think it was Cotton Candy Pouch, but it looked awesome. Really nice job on that.
Yeah, we were talking, Danny and I were talking while that video was playing, and Danny said he wanted next Tuesday and every Tuesday he wanted to have like his pick of the week. So that means he would go in the Facebook group and pick a photo of a project that was his favorite that week, and he wanted to talk about it during the show. So we're going to try to do that next week. Stacy wanted to know, curious, have you ever done a drop-in lining for any of your bags? If not, why not? There's a small amount that I do have a drop-in lining for. I am not sure. I feel like there's two different camps for drop-in linings. Some people don't like them at all, and some people love them, and I'm sort of trying to please both audiences. I don't know. It's tough because it's either one or the other. There's seems to be not a lot of middle ground for drop-in linings. Diana said, how would you finish the top of the bag if using cork? If you were using cork fabric and maybe a quilting cotton in the lining, you could still finish it the same way with the top stitching. Yeah, if I was sewing it in cork, I'd probably make it the same way. Roxanne wanted to know, why does my Shapeflex interfacing come off when I have to handle my bag? When sewing it, it is adhered when I fuse it. Does this always happen to you, or is it just the recent batch of interfacing that you've gotten? I've heard, not that I hear this often, but I've heard in the past someone getting a bad batch of interfacing. So especially the Shapeflex, it should stay attached to the fabric if you've ironed it long enough and check to peel back the corners. So if you're noticing a separation, especially when you just finished the bag, you might want to consider contacting where you got it from or the manufacturer, and I'm sure they'll be able to help you out with replacements, I'm going to guess. Harriet wants to know, can you do a video on the beatnik bag? I'm not sure when I'll get to that one. I sort of have a tentative list for videos for this year for future patterns, but the beatnik bag is like I wanted to call it a fanny pack, but I was told by some of my friends in the UK that that's not appropriate to use for the name of a bag, because it's referred to a woman's, I think, private parts. So anyway, I'm getting a little off track. Anyway, we're going to try to do as many videos as we can this year, so hopefully we can get to some more that people are asking for sooner rather than later. Judy wants to know, can I use leather? My quilt shop has soft leathers. I think that would be really cool in this clutch, and actually I designed this by request of someone, and they did want a leather clutch, so I don't see why not. Anita wants to know, do you make hobo bags? I actually have a free hobo bag pattern and video on my YouTube channel and website. It's called, not a very creative name, but I just called it the Easy Leather Hobo Bag, so you can find it on there, and hopefully that's what you had in mind when you were asking about hobo bags. Alex says, I'm hooked on bag making. I'm running out of friends and family to gift all these bags to.
Can always make some sci-fi ones and send them this way.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because there's only so many bags you can make for gifts or teacher gifts even. Although like little pouches, like everybody could always use like a new pouch for pencils or makeup and stuff. Kaylee wants to know, are you planning on any tutorials using rivets? I actually do have a rivet video. Is it the first video we ever shot?
No, it was a more recent one, because remember we had that side view of it? It's got multi-views.
Oh, the cork video was the first one.
Yeah.
But there is a rivet video on my YouTube channel and website, and I show my tabletop press, and I talk about different dies and sizes. And I was looking at Chicago screws today because I wanted to do a video on those for the people that didn't want to invest in the tabletop press. So we'll do sometime a video on Chicago screws as well. It gives the same look as a rivet, but without any kind of handheld press or tabletop press. Hope says, I just got Marauders matte fabric for a bag this past weekend. Where did you find it from? Because
That'd be pretty cool.
I want to buy some more Harry Potter fabric. Sharon wants to know, do you pick fabric on projects that you will use? Very pretty. Wish my sewing room looked that good. It looks good now, but you should see the floor behind us. There's stuff piled up all on the floor. I do choose the fabric for all the projects, and it usually takes me a long time. For the clutch, it was sort of fast for some reason, but yeah, it usually takes me at least an hour or two, and sometimes I ask Danny his opinion on stuff, and
It's funny, we generally I like her color choices because she does great designs and whatnot, but sometimes I feel like she's got this color choice. I'm like, sort of like that quilt something we saw before with that yellow. I'm like, I don't know if you want to use that, and she's like, no, I really like. I wish I could show you guys, grab my quilt that she made me. It's amazing.
It's right out there. Why don't you go grab it?
Sure. Grab it.
Okay, he's gonna grab the quilt, and I'll pick another question if I can find one.
I'll be back.
This is a good one. I like this one. Oh, I picked the wrong one. This comment I saw that I liked. Do you ever get tired of telling us to open the pattern on Adobe? Love your videos. Thank you. So.
And print to scale.
And yeah.
Actual size.
No, actual size, not scale. So I do always say in my videos, let me answer the question first.
Yeah, I'll just show in the background.
All right, I do always say in my videos at the beginning how to print out the pattern because I'm acting as if someone is only seeing my video for the first time, and I want to make sure they get it right and there's no mishaps. Anyway, I made this quilt for Danny for Christmas a couple years ago. The pattern is Allison Glass's tessellation quilt pattern. It's foundation paper piece. And my friend Stephanie long-armed the Minky on the back. You want to show him the back? This is his favorite quilt, and yeah, you could probably see the quilting. It's kind of small for his quilt, but
yeah, it's too tight. You know when she gave it to me for Christmas, I looked at him like, what are you giving me for Christmas? I'm like, that's something we put on the wall. It's really highly detailed, really nice quilt. I love when she first got into quilting. My favorite part about the quilts were the actual quilt, like Angela Walters.
Can we take the question off the screen so they could see more? Sorry, I don't know how to do it. I don't remember how to do it myself. All right.
So it's the quilting on top there. I mean, sometimes they get so detailed in what they're doing, like the triangles, the zigzags, sometimes the pearls or the feathers. She's got a lot of other quilts that have a little more detail because this is a smaller scale quilt. But that was one of my favorite parts. I'm like, man, these people are so amazing what they do. Sara Diddy does a really nice job as well. But that was one of the cool features to me. I'm like, wow, the quilt looks okay. They're blocks. But, the quilting on them really sets them off. Like, wow, that's really nice.
I'm laughing because when he mentioned Sara Diddy, if you use Instagram, look up Sara Diddy if you don't follow her already. But Danny has certain favorite people he follows on Instagram, and Sara Diddy is one of them. And Love You So, Christy is another person. So he has his favorites.
Rock Baby Scissors. She also got a great stash of sci-fi fabric recently I saw. Good job, Christy. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, so he follows.
The more if I know or like I discover you, I like to follow everyone. So if you see me somewhere, my name's Dan is the Law on Instagram. That is me. And if I do, if you tag So Sweetness, I automatically follow that hashtag. So if I see you on there and you post something, that looks pretty cool, I will follow you.
All right.
All right, let's get some more questions. Yes, you are right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he does love Angela Walters, too.
Oh, they're commenting on your... while they're commenting, everyone, if you could hit that like button, subscribe, share, all the above, it really helps a ton for us. It gets our video out to other people. We have a lot of followers, but the more people that comment, they put the like button, they smash that button, it spreads the video. They have a logarithm with Facebook and YouTube, and it doesn't show everyone that follows you. So if you were to press those things, it helps spread out the video to other people that may not always see it. But let's put it right here. Are you a bag leader or bag dude? Put it in the comments. Bag dudes unite. I saw a couple of people, on Instagram, someone wrote, it was actually me on YouTube in our last video. Guys, I want all the bag dudes to unite together. I like to comment on there. I thought, it was a strong message to bring, to all the bag dudes together. But I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I know a bunch of guys that sew, and even some that make bags. So there's bag dudes out there as well.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, let's see. Where are all the questions at tonight?
All right, any more questions? Oh, I saw Yvonne said she wanted to see the quilt that you made. So maybe next Tuesday we can show the quilt.
Oh, I forgot to grab it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's upstairs. Always I'd go grab it.
Diane said, I tried to print actual size last night, but it kept not printing right. I had to set it to no border. Depending on your printer, another common one that I see is that people need to check the box for auto portrait landscape. So that might be one of those as well. But generally actual size will get the pattern out printed out correctly. Oh, I see all the bag ladies. Thank you so much.
You had a comment here.
Oh, sorry. Do you have any quilting tutorials?
Tulip Pink one.
Oh, yeah. We did a video last year for a foundation paper piece quilt by Stacy Day for Tulip Pink's Fabrics. Holiday Homies. Hanging with the Homies. That was the name of the quilt. It had holiday ornaments on it. I occasionally like to fancy myself as a quilt pattern designer, but I'm really not. So I've done a couple tutorials years ago for quilt blocks and things, but that was the only video that's quilt related. So I don't know. I feel like I almost need to stick to what I know and not try to step outside the box, but who knows.
I think she means hardware.
Stacy wants to know, do you have a bag or tutorial showing hardware? Is that what you think?
I believe so.
Okay, so I don't think we done any videos with hardware.
No,
Free
just
videos?
for hardware itself,
Okay. We'll get something with the adjustable strap and some hardware purse feet. I saw someone on Sunday ask for purse feet, so we'll try to get that.
I did see some people, you want to address it, the snap setter tool, wouldn't get it back in stock, and the hammer.
Oh, the hammer, we just got that back in today. The snap setter tool, I'm not sure when we'll have it. The manufacturer is promising to ship it soon, and I ordered, I think, 300 or 400 more snap setter tools, so we'll have those up soon, hopefully.
Yep. I didn't read this one.
Cindy said, I broke 2 needles sewing my 3 grab-and-go sleeves this weekend, but love how they turned out. Oh, I hate breaking needles, too, and it usually happens when I'm almost done with the bag, especially when the layers start to pile up or that kind of thing. But luckily, I buy the needles in packs of 100, so I always have a new one handy. It's
funny, of all the times we've shot videos, I can't say one time I've seen the needle break.
Really?
No.
Are you sure?
Positive.
Maybe you were sleeping.
I've seen run out of thread many times, ladies.
Yeah.
That's a great one. The bobbin runs out of thread. That happens. Break needle, I can't say I've seen it happen.
And sometimes when I run out of thread, I just tell you to keep... We
just
just
let
keep
it roll.
filming. So hopefully it looks like there's thread in the bag, but there's not. Glenna wants to know, so what will be the next bag video? I'm not sure if... I know our next 4-pack video bundle, I think we're going to do May for that. The Ultimate Art Organizer is one of them. I have a new pattern that's going in the next bundle. What else is in there? The Hyacinth bag.
Oh.
And there's one more.
Secrets are being revealed.
The filigree pouches is the 4th one.
We have some new phones coming this week for us, and one of the things I'm excited about it, I'd like to give you guys more like raw footage of us not even filming videos. I'm like, Sarah's sewing. We're going to give you some live snippets here and there of what we're doing all throughout the day in Facebook. I don't think YouTube, but we're going to try to hit Instagram more. If you don't follow us on Instagram, it's Instagram/SewSweetness, right, Sarah? Mm-hmm. And also it's the Instagram this week. We don't know what day yet, but we're going to do a live Instagram, probably in the evening time like this, so we have the same audience. But you can join us on the Instagram thing. We're going to accept people. You can, in Instagram Live, when you go live, there's an option, let people join in your live video with you. And we're going to make that available. So if some people want to join in, talk back and forth, say hi, see what's going on. We're going to try new media, stuff and, technology.
I don't remember.
See, if I say it live, it has to happen now. So we don't even have to talk about it ahead of time.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't remember talking about this.
Pat myself in the back in that one. Sometimes I got these great ideas, and I don't want to put them out there yet, so Sarah can turn them down. But if we say it live, it's got to happen now.
Barbara Ann wants to know, can you piece cork or vinyl to make a longer strap similar to the way you would do with quilting cottons? I haven't personally. I'm assuming you're meaning sewing right sides together to make like just a longer piece. I'm just concerned a little bit about the thickness, but I'll try it out and I'll let you know unless you get to it before I do. Carmen wants to know, have you ever sewn with oilcloth? I bought some to make the lining for a makeup bag, wondering how it will turn out. I have not. I've sewn with laminate fabrics before. Yeah. Sorry, I don't have anything else to say about oilcloth since I haven't sewn with it yet. That I can remember.
This is a horror story right here.
Diana said, Danny, you don't want to see a needle break. I had one that would have blinded me if I hadn't had my glasses on. Needle breaks can be dangerous. Oh, that sounds really bad.
Yeah, I'd be scared.
I also heard a story once before about someone who, sometimes people put the pins in their mouth. Somebody swallowing one. Like inhaling it, kind of.
What if you had a cough or sneeze and sucked in?
Oh,
here's our friend, too. While we're in Universal, we also linked up with a friend.
Vanessa.
Hey, Vanessa.
Crafty Gemini. I know all of you follow Vanessa's YouTube channel and are in her clubs.
Yep. She's
Crafty
a wonderful
Gemini.
lady. Great children.
Yes.
Really good people.
Sherry said, will you ever be doing a video tutorial for the Reason to Bag? I've had that part finished for over a year. Oh, if you ever get stuck on something, feel free to email me. I'm happy to help. But I know a video is better than me explaining something in an email. I have had a lot of people ask for that, so we'll try to add that to our list for this year.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool bag, actually.
Yeah, that is a cool bag. It has the buckles on it. Louise wants to know, how did you come up with the name So Sweetness? So my favorite band since high school is called Jimmy Eat World, so it's sort of like a post-punk type pop band. And I had this record when I was in high school, a 7-inch record. It was pink, and my favorite song on that record was Sweetness. And so I just added the word so in front of Sweetness, and that's how I got the name. Any more questions?
April Cork Club. What's going to happen? What's next on that?
Yeah.
We're excited about next project.
Cork Club. So Cork Club month 2 is coming up in April. I'm not sure. I have a short list of video projects for next month's Cork Club, but I was so impressed and excited to see all the people making the eyeglasses the eyeglass cases from month 1 of Cork Club. That was really awesome. And not only are they people making one, but they're making like 10. So that's pretty cool. Darlene said, hi, I'm trying to finish a 100-year-old quilt top that my grandma made. Want to use a good thread. It's all hand sewn. Can you recommend a thread? That is really sweet. And I hope you'll email me and share a photo of your quilt when you finish it. I like Aurifil 100% cotton thread for quilting. I think the 50 weight, depending on if you're hand quilting it, maybe the 40 weight might look good for the stitches, either 50 weight or 40 weight. Kylene says, I've got some PUL I would like to use for lining in small pouches. Do you think I should interface it? It depends. It's been a few years since I've used it, but I think I recall it stretching a lot in one particular way. So if yours is stretching, you might want to interface it with maybe Pellon Shape Flex just to take out the stretch so it's easier to work with. But if not, then I think you'll be okay with just that fabric. You posted that one already.
Oh,
Yeah, unless she asked it again.
Okay, it was she just popped up 37 seconds ago.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'll next.
Dawn said, is it possible to sign up for next month? I missed this month for Cork Club. So we have 20. We're trying to cut off the subscriptions at a certain amount so that we can fill them right away without any delays. So I think we have about 20 spots left for new subscribers. It's on my website, sosweetness.com, if you're interested in signing up for Cork Club. But the next month is shipping out in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's coming up quick.
Yeah, so we're already in the middle of cutting the fabric for next month, for the second month. Oh, Danielle says, can we get a sneak peek of the cork for next month? I would show it to you, but it's in the basement, and maybe is it okay to show them next week, or?
If we get over 16,000 likes on this video. Okay, maybe, yeah, we can show them.
Okay, we'll show you. We'll show you next week. Hope says, do you ever have coupons or sales on patterns? I always have a sale on Black Friday. However, we don't discount the fabric at all or offer coupons on the fabric just because I feel like we offer it at a reasonable price anyway. I do have, when we have the 4-pack video bundle, those are at a promotional pricing, I think. A good, I don't know. What do you?
Yeah, you get to save. I think was it 40% or something. It's around there or something like that.
Yeah.
So $6, you get it for the $40 for the first 4 weeks. Or not 4 weeks, but the first week or whatnot.
I don't know. So my feeling about coupons and stuff is we'd rather offer extra content like these free videos. So that's sort of our trade-off, but I don't usually offer discounts or coupons on patterns and things otherwise. Sorry, is that a good enough answer?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
You know, I don't particularly have a favorite restaurant. There's so many great restaurants. We discovered a new one. I've never had Indian food my whole entire life until this past 6 months. Someone recommended by our house, 10 minutes down the street, and I was amazed how good it was. It was
Delicious.
Amazing, and that might be my new favorite because it's something I've never had, and I'm still experiencing new flavors, different meals, and they're really well with explaining what it is and what you should try and how to, what goes well with it, because it's like a la carte and you can order a whole slew of stuff together, and it's really delicious. So I don't know, I don't want to say the name is wrong or what it is, but it's relatively close to us.
Mantra.
It's
called Mantra. We like the butter chicken, and the manager at the restaurant is really good explaining about the history or how the food is prepared and why it's traditional Indian as opposed to Americanized Indian. So
they want to see inside the clutch.
Oh, okay.
Which one are you going to show?
Sure, I'll show this one.
We don't have our side view camera. I can change this, but can you see it enough?
Okay,
Yeah.
So there's the inside. There's the pockets. Oh, I didn't put a pocket on the other side of this one. Anyway, in the pattern, there's a pocket on this side as well. And there's the magnetic snap, and yeah, that's all that there is inside. It's kind of simple on the inside, but I was hoping for a quick project. Darlene had a good question about Cork Club. So in the Cork Club product listing, we have all the information about the shipping schedule, the payment schedule, and we bill every month. So we bill every month on the anniversary of the date that you signed up. So for example, if you signed up on February 15th, you'll be billed on the 15th of every month going forward before we send your package. So you'll be rebilled on March 15th, April 15th, and so on. And then for 6 months, yes. I don't know what else I was going to say. Sorry. Is it getting late? Ooh, it's 8.
8:08.
All right. Lynn wants to know, do you have more upcoming patterns using the Sizzix? I have one coming out in end of May, beginning of June, and then I'm not sure about October, but they generally release new dyes for the Sizzix machine twice a year. All right, let's take a couple more.
There's just a couple comments.
There's some good comments. Okay.
Yeah, everyone's saying our prices are great. We'd appreciate that.
Thanks.
I'm looking for I see a lot of comments.
Oh, okay.
So
well, thank you. We appreciate that.
For blind sewers, that's a tough one. I don't know, how would you do that?
Oh, Fran had a question. Do you have any tips for blind sewers? My son is blind and wants to be a bag dude. He loves listening to Danny's voice. Oh, that's so sweet.
Me and him got that in common. I love hearing my voice as well sometimes. Maybe not so much.
That's a great question. I'm not sure if someone has an answer to Fran's question. Maybe you could email me and I can post in my Facebook group or talk about it next week on a Facebook Live, or maybe I can investigate it further. So if you have any information for me, if you please email me, Sara@SoSweetness.com.
Okay,
Thank you. We're good on the questions?
Yeah, there's a few more questions. You want to keep going?
Yeah, how about 2 more?
Okay.
You think there's 2 more in there?
Oh, yeah, there's 1, 2 more.
Okay.
Here's a great question.
Okay. Oh, Erin wants to know, what do you do with the stuff that you make? So, my daughter usually comes in and picks things that she wants. Like, I think she wanted this clutch. What else do I do with the stuff that I make?
It's in our basement waiting to go for lectures, and she has these huge trunks. She sticks 5 purses. What are those little eggs? They nestle inside each other?
Nesting dolls.
Eggs? Okay.
Nesting dolls.
That's what she does with her purses. There's maybe 6 one big purse like the airplane, then 5 other purses stacked inside there. Then There's a whole stack of them. We traveled to Columbus this past summer, and we were unloading it. And I was really surprised when I started taking it apart because generally I don't get to go with when she teaches. And we're unloading, and I'm like, wow, there's another purse. She's like, don't forget to open there. There's another purse. I'm like, another person there? And there's a whole lot of purses. She was doing trunk shows to different sewing places where you can get a trunk showed and it ships to the next place. But, you know, we have so many purses and stuff like that, and we have a lot in our basement, and we really need to clean up because we do carry so much cork that there's racks downstairs of just cork, and so we need more space. So maybe Sarah needs to figure something out what she can do with their bags. Maybe you guys got some great ideas. Let her know.
Everyone gets a bag for Christmas this year.
That's pretty nice.
Not a new bag, but a bag that's been to a lot of different states. All right, one more. Connie here, do you have trouble with your lining being too big for the bag? You can always take in the seam allowance. So if you're working on a bag and you turn it right side out and you feel like the lining's a little too big, you can turn it back through the opening and kind of ease the lining in. So start at the correct seam allowance near the top of the bag and sort of ease it in, maybe a bigger seam allowance, maybe 5/8, or you can slowly increase till it's fitting how you would like it to inside the exterior.
You know, this a comment I think Sarah gets often when she tells people what she does. It's like, I design, you know, patterns for purses or bags, and people are like, so how much do you sell your bags for? But she doesn't sell her bags. I mean, she's never sold her bags. That story a long time ago, she was initially going to sell her bags, but it never, you know, came to fruition. But that's a common thing. People say, like, well, how much do you sell her bags for? You know, how many does she make? And I'm like, no. I tell people this even when they ask me, what do you guys do? And like, well, that's a common follow-up question. What do you do? Oh, well, how much do you sell your bags for? Or what kind of bags do you know, carry? We don't do that.
I just feel too self-conscious about my sewing, how my sewing looks in the bag, and I know that sounds odd because that's what I do, but I don't know.
I think that's a good end point. There's a lot of comments, but
okay. Oh, you're saying we should end? Okay,
yeah.
All right. We're a little tired today. We both got up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
I got up at 4 actually this morning.
Oh, okay.
First time in 20 years. But usually I stay up till 4 in the morning. Stop. Last night I went to bed 9 o'clock, fell asleep. I couldn't believe it. And all of a sudden I woke up at 4 in the morning, like, wow, what happened last night? I don't even remember what was going on. I wasn't even drinking, so I mean, I'm just getting older in age. I don't know what's going on.
I was like, Danny, come on, we got a video we got to get done today. You got to edit it.
I wake up at 4 in the morning. I started printing all the orders out. Sarah came down. She's like 5. I had music going. She's like, what were you doing? I'm like, how'd you hear the music? It wasn't even that loud. She's like, I heard it thumping upstairs. So the kids wake up this morning. I'm like, did you hear any music? And like, no, I didn't hear anything. William's like, our son said, if anyone would have heard something, it would have been him. I think mom was just up already and she tried blaming you.
No, you were playing rap music and it was like boom, 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 boom. I could hear it upstairs.
Well, I do like orders. I like to get in a zone. So I'm like clicking real fast. But I think that's enough for this week. You guys have a great night. Really nice seeing everyone again and appreciate it so much. You guys have a great week. We will see you Sunday. Well, Sarah will see you Sunday. I'll be behind the scenes. And take care.